Let's continue on P Diddy.
Okay, so we talked about music and the common connection. And are you able to like dub in this video? I really want to share it.
Yeah, sure.
Where you would. Okay, so I could play it for you, and then you could like overlay it if you want. This is the one I was talking about that. I'm just going to read really quickly what I wrote in my Substack. Below is a video that P. Diddy shared on his Instagram promoting the July 4th, 2020 message by Minister Farrakhan on Diddy's Revolt Network. The Nation of Islam is a labyrinth of individuals with a strongly held belief system, not just about God, but about our nation. Listen closely to the words of Minister Louis Farrakhan and his thoughts about America, who he says was doomed from its inception. Why do you want to get into something that is coming to an end? We are living in the time of the unraveling of this great nation. These words all promoted by Diddy during the height of chaos and trauma for our country. And I'm just going to play it.
So P Diddy is sharing this video being, I want to say, a billionaire, right?
Yes.
He has nothing in common with the black guys from the streets, like nothing. If he wanted to help those guys, his community, he would. But how did he?
Thank you for saying that. It's just like Oprah when she's like, you can donate to the Maui fires. I know you're all struggling Americans, but... And then it's the people who have more wealth than you and I may ever have that are telling us that they're living in oppression and bondage. Mm-hmm. And we need to, like, I'm not saying that nothing happened in America's past. I think we also don't know the full story. Mm-hmm. And I also think what was done could have been done by evil men and that had nothing to do with you or I, if that makes sense. Like
100%, it has nothing to do with you and me.
Right. And yeah, so to have like people who are billionaires perpetuate this, it's like toxic. It's not healing. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know what the exact message of healing is. I don't want to claim to know that, but this is not it.
But that happened. That's it. You can't change the history.
Yeah, and you and I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. It's like, at what point do you pick up and say, wow, we're all in this boat together and look what we have accessible to both of us. Mm. So you have this group is like perpetuating this lie that you live in change, you must avenge that, everyone is your enemy. Like, that's not a message from God. That's how I know it's not.
And the last video was Donald Trump holding the Bible.
Yeah, and then
just a coincidence.
Exactly. They plug that in to say he's your enemy. I mean, it's just so upside down, and yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so this is Mecca Williams. This interview is really great, where she says she says she was on the family management side of things for Mr. Combs, traveling the world with him, as well as having multiple contracts with his network, Revolt.
Great name, huh? Revolt.
Not a coincidence. Wow, I never even thought about that. Revolt.
Just call to action, basically.
It is. It is a call to action. Dang, you nailed that. Okay, what's interesting, if we're looking at this, she was at P. Diddy's 50th birthday party. This is Mecca Williams. She was at his New Year's Eve party on Star Island. And that property, here's another weird coincidence. That property P. Diddy sold this year, that is also right next to a port in Miami. And the person who owned it before P. Diddy was I think, former CEO of Sony Music. I forgot his name.
Mottola?
Yes, I think. Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's this whole issue with Michael Jackson and Sony fighting over the rights to his music, which is also just very odd. And that was like before his death. Mm-hmm. And like the rights, Michael Jackson had the biggest music catalog, I think, of anybody in the whole world. Like, he owned the Beatles, rights to the Beatles music, I believe. Don't know that. And so I actually wanted to share this today on my feed, but haven't gotten around to it, that this year, February of 2024, they sued his estate and won. They bought like the rights to his music for, my expression, pennies on the dollar, like bargain basement. So this is still going on even right now.
It basically generates, I want to say, billions a year.
Yes.
Just from royalties.
Yes.
So the guy was destroyed, and I believe someone is going to do a deep dive into Michael Jackson's story, because there's so much to uncover.
Yes.
The guy was painted as a pedophile, which I believe he wasn't.
Right.
And he was a bad guy, and he was basically killed, and it was proven that he was killed by his doctor, and those amazing people were around him.
Right. Very amazing. Exactly. So hopefully, like, all of these things will just be, this isn't the full story, but I just hope and pray this can be leads that will lead to all kinds of other like tips for people who are investigating these things still to look into this and be aware of these individuals. Yeah, and so then I show the map. This is where I just was. I drove by the Sunset Masonic Lodge. This is in LA County, and I'm showing a map of the coastline. On the map, what's interesting, when I put this together, it said it's like 2 miles away, and there's the Queen Mary and everything. In my car, it took me 5 minutes. So from this exit, you could actually see some of the cranes in the port. It is right there. That is very suspicious to me. And then this just goes into the lodge. And then I talk about like Freemason police. And there's a story of in 2015, 3 individuals. One was an aide to California Attorney General Kamala Harris at the time, who were arrested for posing as police officers. And then just to like show the legitimacy of that was shared by CBS News. And then
They were acting like cops.
Yeah. And so there are like secret police societies, which I never knew about.
And one of them was an aide to Kamala.
Interesting. She spoke at, so there's something called the Black Boule, and people should investigate that. And like she has videos of her at like a women's boule that she's speaking as a part of. Okay, so then my next little post is from Allie Carter, who is a child sex trafficking survivor. And she did an interview in 2021 where she actually talks about the Freemason police in Riverside County. And she was abused at one of P Diddy's parties. And she talks about the corruption within a police department, allegedly, that she was a part of or victim of. So that's kind of tying all that overlapping. And then I have a section on Freemasons and the Nation of Islam. This comes from articles the Nation of Islam has shared on their own website. So I just pull things that they've said and I show you. And then this is where it gets super, super interesting, in my opinion, if it hasn't been interesting enough already. The history of the San Diego border parcel. When we look at the ownership before Dior Sunset Foundation and, Fahim via the media saying he owns it, we learn about these other families that are very suspect, in my opinion. And one is the Burney family. And so Ralph Burney came from Jordan, the country of Jordan, in maybe the 60s. And he was a real estate investor, and his daughter-in-law took over all of his businesses. And if you look up in San Diego County Public Records, there's like a gazillion trusts and businesses and LLCs all under their name. And they tossed this ownership back and forth between their various trusts through the years. And again, this is the parcel that is owned currently by Dior Sunset Foundation and where you can illegally cross into our border very easily. That's what we're talking about. When we look into them, we see they also have ties to the Middle East, and they also have connections with the International Rescue Committee, which if you look at their like national gross income, it's over $1 billion. It's like $1.4 billion as a nonprofit helping immigrants in America. So it's the place you go if you need relocation assistance and all kinds of support, if you could say. So I find it very interesting that people who own border property are also involved with helping people once they cross through an organization.
It's like owning a poisonous food company and owning a pharmacy.
Yeah.
You create a problem, you solve the problem.
Yeah, you get to make money off of selling the food, and then you get to make money off of helping the cure.
I believe there is a guy called Roberto, new guy. He will help America with solving this problem.
Yes, there we go. I can't wait for Roberto
that's going to be an
helm.
amazing movie, right? A TV show.
Oh my gosh.
4 years of almost saying nonstop every day. A new episode comes out. Yes. A drama, maybe some kind of a comedy. We'll see.
Oh,
what a time to live in.
Truly. Yes, truly. So anyways, that's probably enough of that because I don't want to say anything about this family that would not be true or, but it's just some interesting things.
And they can find everything on your Substack.
Yes.
Link in the description, guys.
Yes, exactly.